Welcome to Alley Chats. Today, I am super excited for this interview. I have Franco on. Oh yeah, comics. One of my guys from the Comic-Cons that I see every time I'm at Artist Alley. Franco, I'm so happy to have you on this show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking me to be on the show.
Yeah, man. So tell people about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Fill them in.
I'm intimidating when you first see me, because I'm like 6'4", almost. So that usually scares people off. But I write and I draw a whole bunch of things. I've been known to paint a bunch of stuff. I've been known to teach some stuff. So I do all sorts of stuff. My latest works have been The Ghost the Owl with Sarah Richard, which is out through Action Lab, and Superman of Smallville, which I did with Art Baltazar. That's out from DC Comics. And we have the upcoming Arkham Maniacs that we're working on. And I have another 2 projects with DC coming out eventually that haven't been announced yet.
Okay, we'll keep those secret then.
Yeah.
So, we actually had Sarah on a previous episode, and we talked all about that book. So I'm excited to have you on as well. In fact, that's what prompted this. Talking to Sarah, I said, you know what? I should reach out to Franco because I don't know why I haven't yet. And I think I wrote you, and then she started talking to you immediately afterwards. So this is really great. And your stuff really is fantastic. You're also tied in with Oh Yeah Comics, correct?
Yeah. Myself and Art Baltazar and Mark Hammond, we have a couple of stores, New York, Chicago, and we're affiliated with the one out in Indiana as well. And people have asked us why we went into the retail business. I'm questioning that actual motive myself right now during this quarantine stuff. But we did it basically because we love comics and we love not just reading comics, but the whole industry. And a lot of people told us 8 years ago now is actually when we first opened our first store in Skokie, Illinois. And people told us we were crazy and that we shouldn't do it. But if we listened to everybody that told us not to do things, we would never be in comics in any way, shape, or form. So why start listening now, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to actually go off of the questions a little bit.
Yeah.
And if this is hard to answer, or if it's not really your area, we can just clip this out, just so you know.
Sure.
I know you guys have Oh Yeah Comics, the stores, which are really great. I've been to the one in Skokie a bunch of times, and it's just a great comic book store. During this pandemic, I haven't had anybody on talking about the store's perspective. But what can people do to help these comic book stores right now? Because this is a scary time for comic stores.
Yeah, it is. There's it's really weird because I'm seeing it from both sides of not the aisle, but from both sides of the window, I guess, right. From inside and outside of the store. From outside, I'm seeing a lot of creators, what Jim Lee is doing and the amount of money he's raising, and Rob Liefeld and a bunch of other people are kind of joining in to raise money to help out these stores. From the retailer perspective, we're doing pretty much everything we can to stay afloat and weather through this storm. A good thing to do would be to pick up any comics that you have. If you're a subscriber to these comic shops, is make sure you pick up your subscriptions, because holding on to those for a couple months, is draining for the retail store itself. Buy back issues. Buy older graphic novels. Through the store, we've done a number of things that we've just relaunched our website with an expanded selection to buy from on our website. We just started a Patreon, which has been pretty good for us, where we're putting up content with creators and different stories and different things that we're putting up on Patreon. We have an eBay store through the stores that we're trying to sell some things through as well. We're doing some curbside pickup at the store. We're doing live sales on Facebook and on YouTube where, you can, comment in the comments section that you want something, and then call up later and buy it, and we'll ship it out to you. So a lot of different stores are doing different things, but if you want to see these stores be there when we come out of this, buy something. If you're stuck at home and you have nothing to read, I'm sure your comic shop has some graphic novels that you've never seen before or that you've been wanting to read, and now is a good time to pick them up. So anything you can do to help float them by is helpful.
Excellent. Yeah, this has been a big concern. I've wanted to talk to different comic shops on here because people are coming up with some creative ideas around this, but the bottom line is if people aren't picking up those subscriptions, if they're not going in and buying new things, or not even going in, but ordering online, these shops could go away. It could be back to when I was a teenager when there was like one comic shop around here.
Mm-hmm.
I remember having to go to 7-Eleven to buy my comics until finally a comic shop opened that was within biking distance of me, and it was like, thank God.
Yeah, I used to get mine by mail order, and it was torture not being able to get something, because I think my plan ran every month and a half. I would get them, or every 2 months I would get a package. And I'd read an issue of Secret Wars, and then I'd have to wait 2 months to get the next one,
Yeah.
or the next two, and I'd be like, oh, come on, man, what's going on?
Yeah, I remember when when the one went out by us, and I was buying. It wasn't Secret Wars. It was around that same time though, and it was an ongoing series, and they didn't get the next issue, so I missed like issue 8 because they just didn't get it.
Yeah, I always tell the story because people ask me what my first comic was, and I honestly can't remember what my first comic book was. Because I used to go with my dad, we lived in the Bronx. I was very little, and he would buy me comics at the newsstand on the corner. So I don't remember my first comic, but I remember the first comic I read that didn't have an ending. And that was when the Teen Titans were going to look for the Doom Patrol. And I bought that off the spinner rack in the drugstore when I was a kid. And then I got to the ending, and I'm like, well, what happens next? And then I went back the next month, and they didn't have that issue, and I didn't read that for a few years because I never knew what happened. So yeah.
Yeah, I found that myself. I've picked up a bunch of graphic novels later on to go back and say, even though this wasn't a great series, I gotta know what happened between the Thing and his girlfriend, or like the Beauty and the Beast series. I remember that was one that I got 3 issues out of 4, and I never saw how it ended. I was so thankful to find that 4th issue 30 years later.
Yeah.
Actually, now I'm not as thankful. That wasn't a great ending, but what can you do?
Yeah. The trials and tribulations of us. Woe is us, right?
Right. So, let's talk about a couple of things. I mean, I know you have you have a number of things you're doing. You're doing things with DC. You've got this Owl book. What are the comics that are out right now that you really want people to pick up? And I'm sure you're like, everything I've ever done. But what would you say, like, hey, man, pick this up. I'm really proud of it. This is my deal.
Yeah, the Ghost and Owl is one of those things that and yeah, you're right. The answer is everything. Pick up everything I've ever written. But the Ghost and Owl is definitely one of those things I'm really proud of. It was a true collaboration with Sarah Richard, and her artwork is just phenomenal. She does these painted, fully illustrated pages. When we conceived of the idea, it was me basically begging her, why do you not have a book with owls? Because you do these beautiful paintings of owls. And she goes, well, I'm not really a writer, And I'm like, I will write whatever you want type thing. And she's like, well, I don't really like doing panels. If we're going to do our own book, I'd like to do something a little different. And she did these full page illustrations. And I said, I can write that, So that one I'm super proud of. We are working on another project together that I'm not allowed to talk about, but I'm super excited about with her, that I get to work with her again. So I can't wait for that to come out, because that's even more unique in terms of being from me and artwork from her. So that and right now on my Patreon, I have a book called Fox and Evil that I'm working on, that I'm doing between things. So it's not something that I'm putting out on a regular basis. It's just whenever I get like 5 pages together, I'm putting out there. and eventually I'm going to be putting it up on Comixology, and then eventually, if I get enough pages, I'll put it out in print. But my mind is kind of always going and always working on something. So even when I'm not working on something that I'm getting paid to do from DC or somebody else, my head is always full of stories and artwork that I'm constantly struggling to get to every day.
So you mentioned your Patreon. Is that specifically for Ghost and Owl, or is it your Patreon?
No, my Patreon. Yeah.
Okay. So tell people is it just patreon.com/Franco?
/Franco _ I think, but you could search it as Franco. It'll come up.
It'll come up.
FRANCO. So Patreon .Franco. And it's just I'm doing a weekly 1-page story that I'm writing along with my son, but I'm doing the artwork with, and I'm trying different things. Like I'm using photograph backgrounds and manipulating them with some art stuff. So that's been kind of fun to explore with. So I'm doing 1 page up on Patreon. This is absolutely free to read. You can go up there once a week and read the new page. The Fox and Evil is behind the paywall. So, if you want to give a couple bucks as a donation type thing, you can read all that stuff up there. The Fox and Evil stuff. There's constantly stuff that's going on, that we're looking to do for Oh Yeah Comics and other stuff. It's just, the problem, and it's not a problem at all. This is just being really sarcastic and trying to be funny, but they keep paying me to do stuff, so, it's that's taking away from the creator-owned stuff that I want to do, but it's not a bad problem to have.
Right.
I keep getting paid by DC to do these other books, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll put this on hold. But here and in between things, I'll get a couple pages done or something, so I'm still able to do it.
Yeah, very cool. So, during this time, are you taking commissions at all?
I have taken a few. Currently, I'm not, because I do have a short list of commissions that I open up every once in a while, and right now it's full. And the other thing that a lot of people don't know about me is that I'm a full-time high school art teacher. So that's taking up a good amount of my time now that we're doing this distance learning here in New York. It's proving to be a little bit more challenging than actually being in the classroom with the kids. So it's been taking up a lot of time over the last couple weeks.
Yeah. Here's a little something people don't know about me. I'm a college professor.
Well, there you go.
I
think we have
understand.
talked about this before, yeah.
Yeah. So I do understand, although I was in a unique position when this all hit. I'm teaching online this semester. So literally all the people in the business department were scrambling, trying to figure out what to do. And I went, okay, I'll send an email.
Right.
So it helps, but I do feel your pain. So, okay, Franco, now this is going to be a hard question for you, dude.
Oh, hit me.
Well, here's why it's hard. You do so many cons. This is your dream convention. Who are you most excited to meet? Other than me.
Okay. All right. I was gonna say, all right. So it can be anybody, even somebody that doesn't come to conventions.
Or living or dead too.
Ooh. Oh no, let's not do that, because then that opens up too many possibilities.
Okay. They have to be alive.
Let's just stick to now, the here and now. If it were here and now, and if it were today, I would like to try and meet not just a photo op, but I'd like to try and sit and talk for at least maybe 10 minutes. I think would be Steven Spielberg. He's one of my idols from way back, and luckily at one point in my career I got to meet George Lucas, and that was an absolute thrill for me. Steven Spielberg would be the other guy on my bucket list, and I would love to meet him and just talk to him about the process and work and all that other stuff. One of the fun things for me was I got to meet Frank Miller at a convention, at a party, and I was able to be kind of alone with him for a few minutes, and I got to talk to him not so much about comics, but about movies and directing and the things he got to do. So that was like a big thrill for me. And like I said, talking to George Lucas, and the other one would be Spielberg, I think, would be the other one.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. In fact, I had invited, we used to do a live show at the Blue Box Cafe in Elgin, live at the Blue Box. And I actually sent a request to George Lucas's people because he was living here in Chicago. And I said, hey, I think he'd dig it. We don't have to interview him. I'm just inviting him down. And I did get a response. They said he can't. They said he wants to. But if he walked into a Blue Box Cafe, a Doctor Who themed cafe, watching a podcast all about nerd stuff, he would be mobbed.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, so close. That would have been great to sit down with him. And Spielberg, I think, would be definitely on my list. Have you seen the movie 5/25/77?
I have not.
Okay, I'm going to make a high recommendation to you and to everybody listening. I think I don't know if you can get it online or anywhere as of right now. I don't think it's been released publicly, but they do screenings around the country. It's 5/25/77. It's by Patrick Reed Johnson. It's a movie about the summer that Star Wars came out.
Oh, wow.
It's his true story. And there's a thing, his mom sent him out to California because he wanted to be a filmmaker, and he ended up meeting George Lucas and seeing this stuff before Star Wars came out. And he comes back and he's telling all his friends, like, wait till you see this. And everyone looks at him like he's nuts.
Right.
And, but there is a great Spielberg part in it. He gets to meet Spielberg, and it's crazy because he was obsessed with Spielberg. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a couple of those different documentaries, and they were very much in that group of, they would go to different sets. Like, George Lucas would come to the set of one of his movies, and he would go and see the Star Wars stuff, and they would go to Francis Ford Coppola's set about, when he was doing something. So it was very much, they were very in tune with each other. So it's kind of cool to see that process. And I don't think that really exists much anymore in Hollywood. There was the time before that, the golden era of Hollywood. And then there's this section in the middle with those guys, where they would be all kind of like, palling around and they all came up together type thing. And I don't really think that exists much more anymore.
Yeah, I think the closest you have might be Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez.
Right.
They seem to be pretty tight for a while, and they seem to be involved in each other's projects a lot. But I agree with you. So, okay, we're going to shift gears because I went off on a tangent there. We mentioned different ways to support comic shops. What do you think with all these cons canceling? What would you say is the best way to support creators during this pandemic?
Supporting creators is an easy thing to do. They're all over social media. If you like them, you can follow them. If you don't know how to follow them, you can find out easily enough. Find out if they have a commission list. You were gracious enough to ask me about mine, and I do have one, but it's full, and I take a limited amount because of all the other work that I'm doing. But find out if they have a commission list. Find out if you can get a piece from them or buy some of their original artwork from books and stuff like that. You tend to get online and you see these prices that Jim Lee gets for his pieces, and you're like, whoa, I'm never going to be able to afford that. But, there's other artists out there that are pretty reasonable, and you can search them out and help them out. Because, unfortunately for a lot of artists, conventions are a big part of their salary. Not having them now, it looks like, maybe through September and beyond is going to be a real big hit for the industry all around.
That's exactly why I started this show, trying to draw people to these creators to find ways to support them however we can. So great answer, man. So how do people get in touch with you?
With me, they can find me on at allyeahcomics.com or blindwolfstudios.com. You can just search my name, Franco, in comics, and you can easily find out where I am as far as Patreon and website and stuff like that.
Great. And that's where they can also check out your work is at your websites?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can follow me on social media. You can search for me on Facebook. I'm just Franco with a little head icon, art icon of my face that's on there. Or Franco, AWYEAH FRANCO on Twitter or Instagram.
Fantastic. Franco, thank you so much. This has been a long time coming to do an interview with you, so I'm really, really pleased that we got this opportunity. And please, everybody, support Franco. Go check out his stuff. Definitely keep your eye on the new work that's coming out. You're one of these guys that just produces so much, and it's all fantastic. So,
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for being on.
Oh, my pleasure.
You can find Alley Chats on Facebook by searching for @AlleyChats. You can also visit us at our webpage, smgpods.com/alleychats, for links to all our episodes and other cool stuff. One easy way to support our show is to rate and review Alley Chats wherever you listen to your podcasts. Those ratings really help us out and help others find our show as well. Alley Chats is produced and edited by Rob Southgate for Southgate Media Group. Be sure to subscribe to Alley Chats because you definitely don't want to miss an episode. Thanks again to our affiliate sponsors, Hunt-A-Killer and Tweaked Audio. Links to them are on our webpage and in the show notes. This wouldn't be possible without them. Our theme song is by Benny and the No Goods. Check out their awesome music at bennyandthenogoods.bandcamp.com. If you're an artist or writer or creative type that would have a table at an artist alley and would like to be on Alley Chats, message us through the Facebook page or email us directly at southgatemediagroup@gmail.com and we'll set up an interview. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with another fantastic show.